All right, guys, Kicking Pilates. All right, today we're going to talk about no steps. Let's get really specific on the no steps. A few guys sent in film this week, really good first timers. They've been watching the videos from the free trial. They're picking up really quick. So I just want to help people get really specific. There's two things that I think the most important part of the no step that a lot of people mess up. Obviously lots of guys are taking too big of a backswing, but if you reverse engineer to where the plant foot actually is, you see why people have to overcompensate and come up with the super high backswing. So the first thing is this super deep plant. This is the source of the majority of these issues. So young guys kicking off the tee, they get used to seeing an older guy who's systematically broken down and built up his hip flexor over time. That's why some of those older pros, most of the guys on the side are 15, 19, not 28 like a lot of NFL kickers. So most of those guys are deep. The younger we are, we want to bring back our plant. Even if we're starting on the website and we have pretty good no steps, we want to bring this to a full end range. We always do things way too far on this website just to find the range of motion, because ultimately the most important part of the website is letting your plant foot come back just enough to allow your hip to beat your foot to the ball on the upswing. It is fucking impossible to hit it on the upswing, but that's what we're trying to teach you how to do. If you're not hitting on the upswing, you're shortening your hip flexor and you're giving yourself more of a chance to get injured over time. So number one, the deep plant. So when you set up, you want to move this thing shallower, giving yourself enough space to get the body through. Number two is the hips. Obviously, the tricks on here. You want to be square and neutral. But when I see new film, whether it's no steps or field goals, a little trick that I'm always looking for is whether it's a no step with the field goal, if I can see my hips constantly moving through the kick. So when I'm looking, I always want to, if you're looking at this background, I always want my hips to be going forward through the kick. Something's wrong when you're going forward, and at the last second, it's almost like a shotgun boom, like that. You see the hip going backwards before you go forwards, okay? So a couple guys who just sent in film, their plant's pretty deep. Let's move them back a little bit further. Let's force their body to get even more square, their hips even more square and neutral. So what we're gonna do, move wherever your plant foot is, move it back 3 to 4 inches more, externally rotate that sucker just a couple inches, okay? Now, wherever your foot is, let's say it's at 50 degrees, let's go ahead and make it 40. Who cares? Let's just try it out, right? So what you wanna do to get square and neutral, go up on your toes, bend into your knees, scoop up, so you can either scoop your tailbone under your balls, you can grab your belly, pull it up, and then take your kicking hip and put it inside, okay? And now, this is gonna be really challenging because all of a sudden I got a huge stretch in my back foot. Bend into your back knee and move that plant foot even further back. So right now, it's a different position, but you almost feel it's a good strong stance. Feel like you almost wanna fight somebody, right? So you'll see you're so grounded when you even lift up this back foot, it's automatically going to send you forward. So a lot of the guys that are looking really good in the no step, there's still just a little hitch when you force yourself back and a little bit lower, forcing your hips into a more athletic position. It forces you to get that constant hip movement forward, and you're going to see less and less of a shot back before you come through. Now, the last thing. So for the one step, just like we did for the no step, when this hip is coming inside, this back hip should always be inside. And if you rotate this way, you'll see your kicking hip with the back leg in the no step will lock out the more you push to the left or right footed kicker. When you're in your one step, it's the same thing, except it's the back leg. So to find out if your hips are square and neutral, a lot of guys aren't. A lot of guys are kind of going, to one step like there, but their hips are still in no man's land. So when you take your steps, when you go over, however you get into position, you can always go up on your toes, bend into your knees, scoop your tailbone under your balls. Now, since it's the one step, we're going to take our left hip inside till it locks out. We got this nice lengthened hip flexor. That means our upper butt's working. Then we go down on our heels. That'll give you a more grounded stance to get through that ball with the shallow plant. No more kickback. That little square neutral left hip in the one step for a right-footed kicker will help you get just a little bit lower, a little bit more athletic, so our hip can go out and up at contact, which is exactly what we're trying to do.